Good morning. Extinction Rebellion, that is the group that's organised these climate change protests, mostly happening in London, but in other parts of the UK as well. We know Edinburgh and Nottingham have been affected by these. They've been taking place over the last few days. Have you come across them? Have you been in any way affected by them? We'd like to hear from you this morning. It's all about bringing climate change back onto the agenda and forcing politicians, I guess, most importantly, to listen and to engage with this. Loads of you have been in touch this morning. It's interesting because we obviously get huge levels of engagement when we talk about issues like Brexit. But today this has been completely taken over by a debate around climate change and the right to protest and whether this kind of action is required in order to bring about some kind of change. And I have to say, and I have to emphasise, this is not a scientific survey, but broadly speaking, it feels like from the messages we're receiving, people are in support of what the protesters are doing. But not everyone is saying that, of course, and we'll hear a range of views throughout the programme. But we thought it would be best by talking to a couple of the people who are actively out there and engaged in all of this. So let's speak to Farhana, who's an Extinction Rebellion activist and was arrested herself yesterday, and Kirsty as well, who's been part of the protest. Farhana and Kirsty, morning.
Good morning.
Nice to talk to both of you. Farhana, tell us about the activities you were involved in that led to your arrest yesterday.
Well, I was at Waterloo Bridge, but I also did an action against Shell yesterday that was also to highlight the criminal damage that many of the larger companies are doing, such as Shell, on the planet.
Tell us about what activities you're engaged in.
I'm doing a lot of media work, but I've been helping Extinction Rebellion activists try and get a strategy in place which really starts to communicate the urgency to the British public and globally. And these protests are happening, by the way, worldwide. And today is especially important because we have at Parliament Square, we're linking with all the climate injustice movements all around the world.
Tell us, why were you arrested then, Farhana?
I was arrested for criminal damage, and the point I was trying to make is to highlight that Shell has not been charged with criminal damage. All the oil companies have not been charged with the criminal damage that they are causing the planet knowingly, and have knowingly known about all of the climate impacts for decades.
When you talk about criminal damage, that's obviously a very serious allegation, and at the moment we are trying to get a response from Shell to this. But what kind of criminal damage are you talking about?
Well, in my case, my damage was to...
No, that you're accusing Shell of.
Oh, well, climate change is altering the balance of the world's atmosphere, the world's oceans, changing sea level rise. It's altering the circulation of the oceans. It's leading to water and food security issues. Around 2/3 of the world will live in water-stressed situations and will be subject to intense food security, which is the main highlight of our actions today, actually. I hope people will come to Parliament Square. I hope they'll turn up and hear why we're doing this action today.
Yeah, and the activity that led to your arrest yesterday, that you were involved in yourself, what was that?
I've been a lawyer for 30 years, and I've witnessed firsthand in the international climate change negotiations, the brake being applied behind the scenes by lobbyists and by these industries who have enormous power. They have the best paid lobbyists, the best paid lawyers in the world. They have deep, deep pockets, and they sadly use those and abuse that.
I know. I hear all that, but sorry, that wasn't the question I was asking. I was asking what you did yesterday that led to your arrest.
I glued myself to the front forecourt of the Shell building, where there were ongoing protests about their ecocide that they are involved in.
Yeah. And the police, eventually removed you, did they?
Yeah, they were quite prompt and very polite, and I went to the police station and was not charged yesterday. It's pending investigation.
Investigation's ongoing. OK. It's just to get an idea of the extent to which you think it's important for individuals to go to in order to bring this kind of issue to the public's attention. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I've been involved. As I said, I'm a lawyer and an academic. I mainly write books and advise countries on UN procedural issues. But I felt that the time has come for people to realise that, things are not going well. If you think that we've got it covered through our climate change legislation, if you think we've got it covered under the Paris Agreement, I'm sorry that to tell you, and I say this with a heavy heart as someone who was involved in all of these things, that those things are not taking care of the ecological crisis that we're facing, and we need to wake up and understand that our government, the UK government, is a leading country. We need to do a lot more, and we need to set an example of what we can do when we unify and come together.
Well, you feel strongly about it. Kirsty, you clearly feel strongly about it too. Why? What frightens you most about where the world is headed?
I honestly wouldn't know where to start with that. I mean, the scary thing is that once you start looking into it, it's like every single aspect of our ecosystem is under threat. There isn't really an area that's going okay. It's all quite terrifying, and we don't know how much of that is going to be a kind of massive feedback loop, and how quickly everything's going to happen in one sense, because the human element of how we react to this is the only unknown. All the science is known, and it has been for years, and it's, there's so much research and science into it. The only unknown is whether we're going to do anything about it for ourselves. And
you rightly, both of you, point out the scale of the challenge ahead of us. So what needs to be done? What action are you looking for from governments that would satisfy you?
So I'm looking for a couple of things. Obviously, here we have been. I was on a sort of barricade overnight in Parliament Square, holding that kind of area, and I guess the main thing there is that we need the government to listen. They're caught up in Brexit and sort of home politics like that, which don't really figure once you start looking at the global stuff. It's a tiny sort of little thing, really, in comparison to what we're trying to talk to them about. So we need them to talk to us about that. And I'm saying us, I don't really want to represent everybody, but Extinction Rebellion. And then the other thing that I think is really important, which is another side to all this, is getting ecocide into the international law as being a crime against humanity in the same way, that war crimes are and things like that, so that we can actually start going after, governments, CEOs of the big polluting companies and fracking companies and things like that. Because at the moment, people like me, if a fracking company wanted to go underneath my house, they could. There'd be nothing I could do about it. They could pollute the water supplies. There'd be literally nothing. They'd just get fined and they'd pay it, and it would all be, paid off, and that would be it, and they'd just carry on. And it's just insane. It's just insane.
Okay, well, we've got loads of people to talk to, but I hope you'll stay with us. Shell, by the way, tweeted a couple of days ago, I should say, "We respect the right of everyone to express their point of view. We only ask they do so with their safety and the safety of others in mind." Let me bring in Mark, who's got in contact from Eastbourne. Hi, Mark.
Hello there.
What do you make of what Farhana and Kirsty have been saying?
Well, I understand that everyone does it already. The challenge of the environment, protecting the environment for the future. I'm sceptical that this is the right way to go about making some kind of protest or raising awareness. I think there's already a high level of awareness. That's my point here. Why do you need to raise awareness in an illegal way?
Well, can I answer that, Rachel?
Of course, yes, Farhana.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that we're having to take this kind of disruptive action. It's not what I thought I would be doing after 3 years, 30 years of trying to get, legislation at the international level, at the EU level, and in the UK. That's really not what we thought we would need to be doing. And the reason why this disruptive action is happening is to try and really sound the alarm bell and to ask people to understand that they have not been able to act quickly enough, partly because of government inaction and partly because, we spent two decades arguing about climate science. And I don't want, another decade to be misspent arguing about the tactics. People need to wake up very quickly and they need to inform themselves, and the government needs to take much quicker action. And this is an unfortunate way of doing it, but we apologise for the disruption. But please tell us, how better to do this, because we've been trying through the normal channels, as it were, to do this for 30 years, and this is where it's got us.
Between me and the gatepost, my son is currently at university studying science. I don't think science is ended as a field of inquiry. permanent, ongoing.
Let me bring in Dennis as well. Good morning, Dennis in Kent. You have something to say. Dennis, hello.
Yeah, good morning, Rachel. I just wondered if it's, although, I agree that we all have to take an equal responsibility, really, to clean up the planet and to do our bit. I just wondered if it's worth, there's so many of these young students around with innovative, brilliant minds. Could they maybe help develop an exhaust system that could be fitted to vehicles, so that they can absorb a lot of these toxins that come from the exhaust? I just feel that there's an opportunity here for somebody to really come up with something positive.
Anyone want to answer that? Kirsty?
Well, I'm not. I'm just an ordinary working mum. I don't know. From what I've read, we have all the tools. From everything that I've read, we have the tools to be fixing some of the problems. And unfortunately, they're expensive. Governments don't want to put them in place.
It's funny.
They already do.
Isn't it? For other things. Sadiq Khan. Forgive me for interrupting, Kirsty. Just that. Sadiq Khan has said that, this ULEZ thing, £12.50, coming to London,
That's the ultra-low emission zone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I beg your pardon. But, I think to myself, why cannot Sadiq Khan and people of this kind of level put money into universities or maybe a competition to say, look, come on, let's all get innovative, let's get on this. Instead of charging people money, it's not going to solve it. Let's just put a plaster on it.
I think I have to go, but I think that's an excellent point. And we have got so much creative talent in the economy. There are so many solutions. We can and are doing so much more. And, the disruption is really designed to tap into that creativity and energy and make everyone pull together to find a solution.
Farhana, before you go, and
it's like the moonshot moment. They didn't know how to get a man to the moon, but they announced the goal, and then everyone figured it out.
And there are individual responses to this problem, and then there are kind of global responses. Before you go, just this point, which has been made by lots of people, Graham in Woking says, the UK is responsible for less than 1% of greenhouse gases globally. The demands of the protesters are unachievable. You should be targeting China and India, the main culprits.
They need to do more, but China and India look to the UK, they look to the richer countries, they look to those who've emitted most to get their act together. That's what they do, and it's not fair to them to say, you go first, we'll do nothing, and we won't do the next share of what we need to do here. That's a fundamental climate justice issue. They've done the least possible, and you should also know they're doing the most right now to install solar panels. China's has one of the biggest programs. India's got, I think, 100 gigawatts, which is a huge amount of renewables going in and solar going in. So it's not that these countries are not doing nothing.
Farhana, we'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Thanks.